Vegeta, what did you say his power level is? It's over 9,000! 9,000?! There's no way that can be right! It can't!
Hey guys. Alright, so in this video we're going to go over a new build I've been playing. This one's pretty cool. It's a Surge build with pretty much 100% uptime on our Surge ability. So this build is actually only possible to play because of a very recent bug fix that EHC did to the experimental affix you can get on belts. So there's an affix you can get that has basically reduces the cooldown of your traversal ability when you use a potion, and it can go all the way up to 1.8 seconds. And before, it wasn't taking into account cooldown reduction, so it was pretty much impossible to, reduce the cooldown of your traversal ability to really low, to like 1.8 seconds, and then use it and then pop a potion and then use it again, because it wasn't taking into account the cooldown reduction, so it would never fully reduce it by 1.8 seconds. Anyways, now that's fixed, so you can actually do these kind of builds. Not just with Surge, you can do it with like Teleport and a whole bunch of other skills, so pretty cool. This opens up quite a lot of different fun builds. So this build we're going to do is with Surge, and it's using Spark Charges and Reave. So this one is gonna be probably one of the fastest mappers for Mage at the moment, and we're going to go into how I built the character, kind of a build overview, as the character isn't, like super really min-maxed. It's just something I kind of put together. I was trying this actually about 2 weeks ago, but then realized that the affix was bugged and kind of abandoned the project. But now that it's back, I kind of went back to the character. Alright, so we're doing this one offline, so you can see, but the gear we're using is very reasonable, I would say. No double T7s. Most of them are very, very obtainable, easy to obtain items, I would say, and I actually do have better items in in the online servers. Okay, so a little bit about the build. So the build is using Surge mainly. We reduce the cooldown of Surge to 1.8 seconds, and then we have the experimental mod on our belt, which whenever we use a potion reduces the cooldown of Surge up to 1.8 seconds. So basically we can just push Surge, drink a potion, and go use Surge again. Right, and then the way we do damage is pretty much just Surge is proccing Flame Reave, and both of those abilities are applying Spark Charges. And one cool thing is that the Flame Reave, we have it set to kind of go expand out in a circle and come back, and when it kind of comes back, it pulls enemies together. And because Spark Charges are an AoE ability, you can shotgun multiple mobs together, right? So that clear ends up being very good, even though we're not getting a lot of hits and a lot of Spark Charges out. Since we're like grouping up the monsters together all the time, they end up kind of blowing each other up, even like the real tanky targets. Alright, and as for defense, we're pretty much going full on potion. It's kind of something I'm kind of experimenting with, but basically converting our potion to ward, getting a little bit of ward on potion use, and since we are just constantly spamming our potions, we can end up getting quite a lot of ward with the setup. Alright, so let's run a monolith. Only 500 corruption because I haven't really played offline that much and haven't really progressed my monoliths to 1,000 yet. But anyways, we'll do this, and I don't know, I think you could probably do 1,000 on this because of just like looking how much damage we're doing at 500 corruption. 1,000 should be no problem, especially with the kind of gear we're using, which is pretty basic, I would say. Alright, so let's go. So the only weird thing with this build is that we do kind of have to pick up potions, because you can see we can kind of spam our potions, right? And it's okay, but then you will run out, and so eventually you run out, so you just go pick them up, right? I mean, even if you run out of potions, it's not really the end of the world, because you can manually just push Flame Reave every now and then, right? But yeah, let's just keep going and go and kill these guys off. And you can see the Flame Reaves, pretty cool, like how it pulls enemies together. But yeah, pretty fun. This is like probably one of the funner builds I've played so far this season. Alright, and just quite a few mobs here, so let's just go get all of them. There is also a Weaver mod you can get for potions on your idols that has a up to 10% chance to not consume a potion. So I have 2 of those in this setup, so it's like 20% chance to not consume a potion, and I was trying it without that first, and as soon as I got those mods, the gameplay felt way better. Alright, let's try this guy over here. So I haven't really thought of what I want to do for a single target yet, but you can see it's okay. As long, I mean, we're spending quite a lot of potions, but you can also, you know, use Lightning Blast or some other kind of single target setup. Alright, let's try a boss. So let's see what it looks like at a boss, and although I don't really think this character is really good for bossing, just want to show that you can actually kill them, and of course you can spec into some other kind of single target setup like Lightning Blast, Flame Wall, and that kind of stuff. But anyways, let's just see what it's like with pure Surge Flame Reave. Keep in mind our ward, pretty good, so we can kind of tank these explosions. I probably should have used Flame Ward. But yeah, boss DPS, not super good. I mean, it is pretty fun though. Anyways, any minute now. So this would go a lot faster with a dedicated single target setup if you kind of set one up. Oh, we're out of potions. Shit. Let's go grab all of the potions real quick. Grab the beer. And don't run into the fire. We just manually cast Flame Reave, but we're getting him down. There we go. Okay, yeah. So definitely not a boss serve. Alright, so let's kind of go over what you actually need to put this kind of build together for Surge. So we're wearing quite a lot of items, but not all of them are actually what would you say, required for the build to work. So I think what we'll do is we'll take off the items that aren't really required for the build to work. Okay, so these are kind of the items that are required for the build. Not all of them, but I guess we'll kind of get into that. So first of all, let's talk about Surge. So how do we get this down to 1.8 seconds? And we're doing it, I mean, we do it with cooldown reduction, obviously, but how much do we actually need? And the answer is 55% on your sheet. So that's going to be, you can get it on your boots, you can get it on your belt. I don't have it on my belt, but you can get it on the belt. You can get it with ring implicits on these opal rings. You can also get it on helmet implicit. Okay, so this is all of the CDR that we have. So obviously if you get more on your, say for example, you get a T7 on your belt, I mean on your boots, some on your belt, then you don't need this helmet. You wouldn't need the rings, right? As long as you have, I believe it's 55% here, then it should work. We also then will need 2 idols with cooldown reduction, recovery speed for Surge, and then the rest of it comes from the passive tree in Spellblade. What is it? It's over here, the 8-point bonus over here from Outrun and Outlast. So that combined gets our Surge cooldown to 1.8 seconds. We definitely do need it to be 1.8, otherwise it won't be very smooth. And then we also are going to need the experimental affix at T7. At T7 it goes all the way up to 1.8. So it is possible to actually get your Surge down to say like 1.6, 1.7 with more CDR, but anyways, I went down to 1.8. So that's pretty much what's required. So, you know, I mean, you don't need to use Blood of the Exile, right? You can use any kind of pair of boots, and you don't need to use the Arcane Visage if, you know, you say you have additional CDR. The second item, Mad Alchemist Ladle. So this is actually required. Flame Reave, you can see, is actually using quite a bit of mana. All right, it's what, 31 mana, and our Surge is 25, so we're using quite a bit of mana. And the way we actually get our mana back is from the 1 mana gain on potion use per 4 int. So this is our mana sustain. So this is the reason why we need the Mad Alchemist Ladle. I mean, obviously it's actually very good for damage as well. Anyways, so that's why we're using the spoon. We need the fragment because this gives us our damage scaling on the spark charges. And we need the Jungle Queen because this has the most amount of potions you can get on a belt. Otherwise, it's not going to be very smooth if you only have a 3 potion belt, pretty much, right? Okay, so aside from that, there are some other items like, we can use. So I am trying out Exanguinous because this also does have some potion related mods, right? So we get 30% increased attack, cast, and movement speed when we use a potion, which is pretty much always. So we get some nice movement speed from this. Immortal Vise, just because damage reduction. I mean, you don't need to use these. And then Shattered Worlds, just for the haste. We don't really need the spell crit because thanks to Spellblade, we have tons of spell crit. Okay, and then for the amulet, Devotion, because, well, I don't know, this has some damage related mods, but I would say it's not even that important. But anyways, so, and then for the other idols, we have, just some idols with mainly just trying to get these sort of spark charge chance on hit. Okay, so another thing we're doing with the potions, since we are using a lot of potions, right? You see in the video, we are getting a lot of ward. Like, I've gotten all the way up to 21k ward with good gear, but on average about 14k, 15k, 16k with, this kind of, basic setup. So we're getting our ward from basically just converting our potion to ward. So we're doing that with some affixes on the rings, and then the rest is from some idols. And then you can see we do have more gain on potion use. You can go for damage mods if you want, but I think we had enough damage. I mean, I'm only doing 500 corruption on this because, that's the maximum amount of corruption I have online. I don't really feel like, trying to push corruption right now anyways. So I decided to just go full on the potions. We have potion. I'm not really sure how impactful the increased chance to find potions is, but anyways, decided to go full on potion and put it here. And then the Jungle Queen, we have cleanse pretty much, so we pretty much remove any elements from us. So that's the build. Alright, so that's pretty much the gear setup. Let's quickly go over the pieces real quick. Pretty much just have to stack int and crit multi, pretty much it, and then spell damage or lightning damage. And that's pretty much all you really need for this build to scale the damage. For defense, like we said, we are basically just relying on the potions and gaining ward by converting our potions to ward, and then getting a few of these ward gain on potion use mods. Now you don't really even need this, right? You'll still get like over 10k ward without these mods. Okay, so that is the kind of gear setup, and we can quickly go over the blessings while we're here. We got some crit multi, resistance, armor, and then lightning res shred. Okay, and then for the passives over here, this is the mage setup I went with. And then sorcerer, we just got a little bit of int. In Spellblade, we have some stuff. This stuff here is probably not really working at the moment because I don't have any kind of source of chill, but if you got chill, then you get a little bit more damage. But yeah, just basically trying to get spark charges, some attack speed, some ward. The mana gain on melee hit is pretty nice. I mean, it's only 3, but it kind of adds up. Then we get some spell damage. This is actually pretty big, 25 spell damage for 5 points. And then just some, int and that kind of stuff. And then this is pretty much giving us all of our crit, so pretty important. And then Rune Master is the usual kind of Rune Master shenanigans, pretty much. Alright, so as for the skills, this is how I have my surge set up. Might not really be ideal, but kind of go over why we're doing things. So what we really need here is these nodes here to cast Flame Reave when we use our surge. Okay, and then after that, we're going to go for the spark charge stuff here, and then invulnerability when we're surging. So that's pretty big. We're pretty much like immune to damage for like 80% of the time, so that's pretty cool. And the other points are just kind of, you can do whatever you want. I put them into some travel distance. Okay, Flame Reave. The main thing we need to get here is the Flame Caller, so Flame Reave returns to you, and then the Infernal Calling. So this one makes the Flame Reave pull enemies together. So this is very important because spark charges will shotgun. So if we pull enemies together, they're all the spark charges are going to explode and hit each other in kind of shotgun, right? So this really big for clear, especially taking out big targets or tankier targets. You can just pull a whole bunch of mobs into each other and just blow them up. Okay, after that, I'm not really sure about this stuff here because we get reduced width, but then we get some range, so it travels further. Anyways, and then we have the World Fire. So this makes it cast in a circle, so this is kind of required. You can also use the ring. There is a ring that does the exact same thing, but ring slots are pretty important, so I don't think it's all that good to use it. I tested out the range and it seems to be actually about the same, so I decided to go with this node here. And then after that, I just spent some extra points into like some reduced mana cost, and then converting it to half of it to lightning for whatever reason. It's not really doing anything, but I do get a little bit of frenzy, so that's kind of cool. And then we have 2 extra skills you can do something with. So, you know, this build, maybe right now, like single target is almost non-existent. I mean, it does decent damage, but you know, it's not a boss killer. So you could put 2 skills here to help your single target. I think Lightning Blast would probably be the best option. So something like this. And then I'm not really sure what else we do. You could do Enchant Weapon, you can do Frost Wall, a lot of other things you can try out for some single targets. So you got 2 skills you can play around with. So that's kind of the skill setup. Alright guys, but that's going to be it for the video. Yeah, pretty fun build, guys. I'll probably keep tinkering around with it. Maybe come up with something cool. But anyways, this is just kind of what it is right now. Pretty fun, just like zoom around and blow everything up. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.